The latest on DeAndre Hopkins, CJ Stroud lists his top 5 quarterbacks, or did he get headline porned? And the players will be on the field tomorrow. Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop.
Welcome to the locker room, the number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app. Subscribe, like, right along. Players will be on the field tomorrow. At least the media will be allowed to be there. I'm hearing we might hear from some members of the offense. Maybe some guys that you're excited about, maybe a tight end, maybe a running back, who knows. But you'll hear whatever they say, we will react to right here, and you will hear live on In the Loop on Sports Radio 610 between 10 and 2 o'clock, the show of record, in my opinion. Let's jump right into it. The DeAndre Hopkins news. He should visit with teams this week. That's what many are putting out there. Do any teams want to visit with him, though? That is the question. We talked about the DeAndre Hopkins thing. We've seen the word on the streets. We've seen some of the reports. The interest in the Texans has been reported. It's been talked about on the internet. And there doesn't seem to be a big market for DeAndre Hopkins. Diana Rossini has reported that the Jets, Cowboys are out. There's talk that the Bills, who are believed to be one of the teams that would have been the most interested, they could be out. Again, only takes one team. We haven't heard anything on Baltimore, haven't heard anything on the LA teams. So the DeAndre Hopkins, the market seems to be, I don't want to say bare, but it seems to be very light. And is he going to just wait till training camp at this point? Are we at a point where DeAndre Hopkins is just kind of waited out mode? My question is this: what exactly is going to change from now until training camp when it comes to the DeAndre Hopkins situation? Is DeAndre Hopkins going to get younger? He's turning 31 this week. I think he turns 31 either today or tomorrow. So does that change? Do teams all of a sudden free up some salary cap space? I don't see that happening. What happens with DeAndre Hopkins? And furthermore, my question is this. I have zero doubt, and I've said this many times, DeAndre Hopkins is telling people, or people close to him are telling people, that he's interested in being in Houston. If the market were active, and let's say there were a lot of teams that wanted DeAndre Hopkins, would that be out there? Would he be saying that? Or is this trying to create some sort of buzz and create some sort of market? And the other angle is this, and we talked about this on the show today. We've talked about it for a while. Is DeAndre Hopkins still elite? I think he's on the decline. The numbers say he's on the decline. He's been banged up the last couple of years. He got popped with the Peds. The counter, people will say, well, DeAndre Hopkins is, he hasn't had a quarterback the last 2 years. Well, once upon a time, it didn't matter who his quarterback was. He was quarterback proof. He was getting a lot of targets last year. Look, sometimes when you turn 31, Father Time catches up with you. Julio Jones has had 3 very bad seasons since he turned 31. It's been a steady decline. Even then, though, there weren't like as clear warning signs as there are with DeAndre Hopkins right now. Andre Johnson had 2 elite seasons after the age of 31, very elite. And then there was a little bit of a decline. Larry Fitzgerald had 3 Pro Bowl seasons after age 31. So it's really just a matter of how good do you think DeAndre Hopkins is. If DeAndre Hopkins were elite, I don't think it would be any question. Matter of fact, I don't even know if the Texans would have an opportunity. Hell, someone probably would have maybe traded for him if he were still elite. But right now, the league might be speaking to him. And the Texans would have a lot of things to weigh. If DeAndre Hopkins signed a 1-year deal, let's say DeAndre Hopkins signed a 1-year deal here, and you could say DeAndre Hopkins would undoubtedly be the best wide receiver on the team. I think that's safe to say. But if you don't think he's elite, what are you going to have to show for it next season? In other words, unless DeAndre Hopkins just plays out of his mind and then you decide you want to give him a hefty contract, there's a chance that next year when the season concludes, wide receiver is going to be as big of a need now or as big as of a need next season as it is right now. Because DeAndre Hopkins will be a year removed and you'll still have the exact same question marks about a lot of the guys that you currently have here, maybe even more so than you would have had you let them play without DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins has done a lot of his work in the slot the last couple of years. So you're pushing Tank Dell and John Mechie. Naturally, you're kind of pushing them back. Your other guys that you want to learn about, you're pushing them back with DeAndre Hopkins. Now, maybe it works perfectly, and DeAndre Hopkins is elite, and the ball is getting spread around, and you feel great about things. But again, that's if you still think he's elite. The league obviously doesn't. And I don't either. So it really just depends what the Texans think. It depends what the rest of the league thinks. It depends what you think. There's no one on this receiving core, though, that I think has like a massive, massive ceiling. But you're pushing their ceiling down even more, or are you if you bring in DeAndre Hopkins? Some might say that he would free up space. JJ Stack says he still averaged 11 yards a catch last year, and it was a trash QB situation. If he played all 17, he was looking at 1,200 yards easy. All right, first of all, that's a big if, considering the season before he was banged up. So it's always cool to say if when we're talking about guys. Yeah, if he played all 17 games, then it'd be. He didn't do it the year before. He was banged up. He got popped with the Peds. So just assuming that he's going to play 17 games, is that easy to do at this age with the wear and tear? Maybe, maybe not. The trash quarterback thing I don't get, because that's never mattered with DeAndre Hopkins. That's never been a problem. If we're talking about elite DeAndre Hopkins, he had a hell of a lot of targets last year. Go look at that target share. So, yeah, you can say it was trash quarterback, but those trash quarterbacks were zeroing in on him, and he was getting a hell of a lot of opportunities. So I just like a guy like DeAndre Hopkins who's always been, and I think Fitzgerald and Andre Johnson for a large part of their career were kind of in the same category with average quarterbacks, or Andre making Matt Schaub what he was, but that's never mattered before. And I think it's a big if with the 17. Rick says his speed may be declining, but his route running expertise and hands are probably still elite. His hands are always going to be elite. Nuke Hopkins is going to be 90 years old, and he's going to be able to catch footballs at an elite level. The hands are never going to go anywhere. The route running, I think he's a really, really good route runner. I just think there's a little bit of a decline. Jacob says, I don't see Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans wanting Hopkins. I think you have too many intriguing young wide receivers, and they're willing to roll the dice with. I agree. If I were Nick Caserio and I were DeMeco Ryans, I wouldn't want DeAndre Hopkins, because I do think he's declining, because I do think he's in a certain point of his career where however the season shapes out might not be beneficial to him, because if he does end up here, I think it would say a lot more about what the market was than his just overwhelming desire to play with Houston or to play in Houston. He wouldn't be telling it through back channels if he really just wanted to stick it out there. He's telling people, and then people are saying it. So I don't see that. And from the McNair perspective, I don't think I would really want him either. That's from their point of view. Not saying, he's wrong or they're wrong or anything like that. I just wouldn't. I would want to move past it. Luke says teams would still have to game plan for Hopkins. Sure. They would absolutely have to game plan for Hopkins. He's that good of a player. If D-Hop is still with the Texans, Woods will not be with Texans. Okay. No idea. But we'll see what happens. The DeAndre Hopkins thing. One thing that is good about it to a certain point, I do think you kind of graded on a curve. But Jerome Solomon said it. I said it the other day with Texans Cap. Just the fact that the Texans are even in the conversation to where whether you're saying that DeAndre Hopkins could put him over the top and have him compete for the division, or whether you're saying that DeAndre Hopkins is, no matter how big the market is, he's at least sprinkling stuff to where he doesn't mind people thinking that he wants to be here. That means the Texans have kind of come a decent way in the last couple of years, because that would not have been the case the last couple of years. Sure, there would have been some people that would want DeAndre Hopkins back, but let's be real. Texans were one of the laughing stocks of the league, and he wasn't going to want to be mentioned in the same sentence with the Texans. So I understand that. George bringing up the Jimmy Ward D-Hop fight. Yeah, that was an interesting one. I'm sure they've gotten over it at this point. I want to get into one of my favorite topics. If you listen to In the Loop, and again, subscribe, right along. Let me know what you think of the DeAndre Hopkins thing. I would say no. I vote no. What do you vote? And again, if we were talking about DeAndre Hopkins from 3-4 years ago, sure. Maybe even 2 years ago. Sure. This point, no thanks. But that's just me. Headline porn. I like to talk a lot about headline porn. Headline porn is basically it's when what's actually going on inside the article, or what actually went on, is not proportional to the actual headline. And it can be very misleading. And in the day of social media, it happens quite often. And quite frankly, I don't even blame media types a lot of the times for it, because if you're not being a lazy ass and you actually click on the story and read it, then headline porn wouldn't exist to a certain point. Because a lot of times people, and that's why there's the option now on Twitter, people don't read stories and they react based on the headline. And I think that's how stuff gets out of control. I think that's how generalizations happen. And that's a lot of times. The funniest thing for me is when I'm hosting a show, and I had it today on the text line. Someone says something and you can tell they didn't read the story. So you say, hey, well, you should have clicked on that story and you would have seen this. And it was actually an Amari Cooper story. Since we're talking about DeAndre Hopkins, it was, the Browns could cut Amari Cooper. And someone said something like, yeah, well, I saw that the Browns could cut Amari Cooper and then DeAndre Hopkins would be a no-brainer. They were talking about after 2023, if you actually clicked on the story. And it was like a weak-ass blog that had it up there. No disrespect. I don't mean weak. I mean just random-ass blog. But it said if they could cut him after 2023. It didn't say they were going to cut him this year. If Amari Cooper was on the market, sign me up for that at this point. But the point is, headline porn is around because people are too lazy to read stories at times. Now, in other instances, though, when it comes to the aggregators and the people online who are just there to create internet dialogue, and that's the entire existence, a lot of times there is headline porn. And I'll let y'all be the judge whether or not this was headline porn. So this was making its way around the internet. I saw a lot of people talking about, and I saw a lot of Chiefs fans talking about CJ Stroud and crapping on CJ Stroud. And I wondered, what did CJ Stroud do to get the venom of Chiefs fans? I mean, they're up here on the high dive and we're sitting in the kiddie pool, right? We're trying to get out of the kiddie pool. We're trying to get our floaties off so that maybe we can go jump off the diving board with supervision. The small dive, not the high dive. What the hell are Chiefs fans talking crap about DeAndre Hopkins for? And then I found out why, and it was because of this graphic. It says the top 5 QBs in the NFL according to Texans rookie CJ Stroud. And it says number 1, Jalen Hurts. Number 2, Patrick Mahomes. Number 3, Joe Burrow. Number 4, Josh Allen. Number 5, Justin Fields. And there's actual rankings there. And this is from Dove Kleeman. And Dove Kleeman's whole existence is just aggregating. I'm not saying whether it's bad or not. I actually think he's a good resource at times. I do think, though, that there are times where he can get a little bit out of hand with the headline porn. And I think this is one of them. And I'll let you be the judge. So you just saw that list. You just saw that graphic where it goes 1 through 5. Here's where the actual content came from. And this is on the Caps Off podcast. This is the clip where CJ Stroud's asked to list his top 5 quarterbacks. And this is what CJ Stroud said. And this is where Dove got that list from.
What's up, CJ? Top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. I'm trying to think, dog.
Lamar?
Justin Fields.
I like it.
I like Lamar too. Man, it's hard, bro. It's a lot of dogs out there.
Oh, CJ.
Okay, so he just lists quarterbacks off the top of his head. He's not saying number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. He also put his buddy Justin Fields up there, who mentored him at Ohio State. But you see that clip, and again, it's the internet. It goes back to kind of internet reaction type of stuff. You see that, and you think, oh, wow. Hot take, CJ Stroud said that Jalen Hurts was better than Patrick Mahomes. He didn't say that. He asked him off the top of my head. Like, if I go up to you right now and I say, hey, list the top 5, and we did this as an exercise today on In the Loop. Hey, list your top 5 favorite desserts. You'll just go in any order. Cheesecake, ice cream, cookies, whatever. You're not going in order. You're just throwing them out there. And that's what he was doing. And he put Justin Fields on there also. It's kind of clear that he's just like talking about guys he listed. But the way that was put out there, you would think that Jalen Hurts just came out, or that CJ Stroud just came out and said Jalen Hurts is better than Patrick Mahomes. There was no listing. I mean, that's what you got out of that? You created a graphic out of that? My man's walking off a damn practice field, and you created something out of that? That's where we're at, Dove? I appreciate you. You do a good job archiving the league. You're all over the place. Can't imagine what your setup is like. Probably looks like a damn serial killer with how crazy you and the Ari Myrovs are of the world. But my God, Florio kind of balances aggregating and news coverage and journalism and all that. So it's kind of a balance, and I agree with it. So I'm not one of these people who just says the guy's a joke. He does a hell of a job covering the league and archiving the league. But he listed 1 to 5. He never did that. You got CJ Stroud taking some mean comments from the Kansas City Chiefs. Fortunately, this quarterback doesn't live on Instagram or live on social media like the old one. Might be getting in his feelings. Damn, brother. That was a lot of stuff, man. Really, really strange. Subscribe, like, ride along. Tomorrow, going to hear from someone. Probably on the show. Probably get a little interview action. Might be an offensive player. Just give you a little hint. Little offensive player. So we'll give that to you. Headline porn and headlines about DeAndre Hopkins. Good thing, though. Texans are at least in the mix. They're at least relevant, no matter how serious you think that is or how much you think DeAndre Hopkins has in the tank. I think he's on the decline. I would not want him. That's just me. But different strokes for different folks. Elliot, I'll get your comment before we get out of here. Why is it assumed that he would lower the other receiver stealing? He'd be a great dude to mentor the young dudes and a real weapon. Here's my, all right. I don't know that it's I'm assuming it because I think that DeAndre Hopkins takes away from the production that you could potentially get from these guys, especially the guys that you probably feel the best about. One that used a second round and third round pick in Tank Dell and John Mechie. He's mainly a slot guy at this point. Nuke is. Is he a good mentor? Like, I like Nuke Hopkins. People look up to him, and they rightfully should. And he knows how to go out there and be a dog. But are we sure that DeAndre is like a good mentor for the guys? I'm asking because he doesn't practice, which is fine. He's a vet now. Just show up and play on Sunday. Maybe he could teach him some stuff. Why would he want a mentor too? He said he's over kind of the rookie quarterback thing. Why are we assuming that he would want to mentor these young rookies? I think DeAndre Hopkins just wants to play ball. I think DeAndre Hopkins just wants to win. I think DeAndre Hopkins wants to go out there and do his thing. You're volunteering him to be a mentor. I'm not sure that that's what he wants to do, but we shall see. Different strokes for different folks. We'll see how it goes down. Maybe there's some clarity on this. Maybe there's not. Conflicting reports and headline porn going wild. We're approaching the kind of dead part of the season, but it's never dead here. No matter what happens with the Texans, just remember when it comes to this game, we're all in this together. Have a good one.
Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Local.